Hey, everybody. Hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today, that word is pleasure. Pleasure. Now, you see that picture, a Chick-fil-A sign. And one of the things we know Chick-fil-A for, man, we know them for being God's chicken. And we know the long drive through lines that you can still get through in no time. No matter how busy they are, it seems like you can still be in and out of there quicker than most any other fast food restaurant. And we know they're closed on Sundays because no matter how much you want that Chick-fil-A on Sunday, you're not going to get it unless you got some leftovers. And that rarely happens too. But also, if you've ever been, right, you drive through inside either way, after you finish your transaction, you will hear them say, my pleasure. In other words, no matter what you've asked them to do, they respond to you by saying, it has been my pleasure to serve you. Now, what if we took that attitude and put it towards God to say, God, it is my pleasure to serve you? Unfortunately, in our day and time, and in as it seems to be ever growing and ever more popular to be entitled, right? I didn't think that entitlement would grow, but it really has, is that more and more people have gotten this feeling of thinking that they deserve so much. And as Christians, we'll do the same thing. We'll take those worldviews and the things that we think we're entitled to in this world, and we'll apply those to God, almost to the point where we think, God, you owe me a thank you for all this work I'm doing for you. God, don't you recognize all the time I'm spending serving you? God, don't you realize all the sacrifices that I'm making for you? And it's almost, we've become so entitled that we're waiting on a pat on the back from God, when instead we should say, it has been my pleasure to serve you, oh God. Now, don't worry. I'm not just making this up, not just trying to tie Chick-fil-A in. Luke 17, look at verses 7 through 10 today. He says, and which of you, having a servant plowing or tending sheep, will say to him when he has come in from the field, come at once and sit down to eat? But will he not rather say to him, prepare something for my supper, and gird yourself, and serve me till I have eaten and drunk, and afterward you will eat and drink? Does he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I think not. So likewise, when you have done all those things which are commanded, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done what was our duty to do. Right there, it's a fine line. See, it's a fine line between that entitlement and realizing it is our duty to serve the Lord. But see, it's all about an attitude shift. And if you look at the whole context of this chapter as it's laid out and the things that's going on, he's right before this, Jesus talking about faith and he's talking about forgiveness. And as you put all of that together, even as he's going to be talking about the coming kingdom, right? He's trying to get their attitude to change. And isn't that what is at the heart of most of our problems? Is our attitudes and our hearts are not right before the Lord. And so he's saying, look, if you would change your attitude and realize that you don't do these things for me, that's what the Lord is saying. You don't do these things for me because you're going to put me in a corner where I have to tell you thank you. You do these things for me because I am God. I have commanded them of you to do, and they should be your pleasure to do. Now, at first glance, you might think, well, man, that's kind of, I hate to even use this word, but we might would even say that's a little arrogant of God, right? To think that, man, we don't even deserve a thank you. Let's just stop for a moment and see, what has God done for us? Oh, well, God created us. God sustains us. And then God loved us enough to send his son Jesus to die for us, even while we were yet sinners. Christ died for us. Now, to think about that, even when we were lost as all get out, bound for hell, he could have let us get what we deserve and let us continue on to hell. And for those who reject Christ, that's exactly what they'll get. But he allows us to be saved. He sends Jesus, and he suffers and dies in our place. Now, that's just a little bit of what God has done for us. But I don't know about you, but there's not enough hours in the day. There's not enough time left in all of eternity for me to repay him to the point where he should be telling me thank you. No, everything that we do as Christians should be looking to God, saying, "It is my duty, it is my pleasure to serve you. It is my honor, it is my privilege to serve you because I was bound for hell, but now I'm bound for heaven." That in itself is our pleasure to serve him. Furthermore, because he is God, he has told us as believers what we should do. And then we should also just simply go and do it. How many times would we be tempted, like this slave in this story, to say, "But I'm tired. But I've already done so much. Couldn't you ask somebody else? I've been tending the sheep. That's my only job. Couldn't you get the cook to do it?" Now, isn't it amazing that he calls us all to do so many different things? But we do it for the one who died for us. We do it for the God who loved us enough to send his son to die for us. And we do it for the one who indwells us in the Holy Spirit of God. We do it for God. And if we would change our attitude and stop saying, "God, don't you see what I deserve? Don't you don't you want to thank me for what I'm doing?" If we would change our attitudes to say, "God, I thank you. Let everything I do in my life today be pleasing to you." Because at the end of the day, we should simply say, "God, it has been my pleasure to serve you." God bless you. And I pray you have a great, great day.